So today on Beyond the Cake, I'm so honored to welcome somebody that I deeply admire, Jasmine Lazzari, the brilliant founder and creative director of the Wedding Co. Portugal.
Hi.
Jasmine isn't just the pioneer of luxury weddings in Portugal. She's a true visionary who has helped shape the industry with her refined eye, impeccable taste, and a heartfelt dedication to her clients. For nearly 2 decades, she's been creating weddings that feel like poetry, each one infused with beauty, intention, and a deep sense of place. Her work is meaningful, masterful, and utterly unforgettable. And I'm so excited for you to hear her story. Jasmine, welcome to Beyond the Cake.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. I might have to listen to it to get inspired every day. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So I just want to jump straight in and say the first question I have is kind of a background question. Why did you start the Wedding Co. and why Portugal?
Okay, well, I've been living in Portugal for some time, so for about 25 years, little less. And at the time, back in 2000, I came up with the idea in 2006. There were only a few rental companies and there wasn't the concept of wedding planning didn't actually exist. And I remember having to explain to people, give a translation of what a wedding planner was when I started. And it was a whole new industry, literally. So I understood there was a gap in the market. I had worked previously for a PR firm with luxury brands such as Cartier and Hermes, and I felt that there was a gap in the industry, that there was no industry, there was a gap in the market to develop an area where international guests mainly, not only, would find a whole plethora of incredible vendors and something that would be transformative in an event. And I sort of just thought, yeah, it's going to be good fun and let's do it. And I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but and so that's really why, because there was literally nothing in the market at the time. There were some really good photographers, there still are, some of the ones that have been around for a while, but in terms of concept of international destination weddings, that was just really far and distant land. So yeah, that's why I started it.
Okay. And is there any particular wedding that you can think of that you've planned that still sticks with you till today?
Oh gosh, there's so many. And funnily enough, there's one I feel that we both worked on. We've worked on quite a few different ones that have always been really beautiful. But this one in particular was really fun because it was the first wedding. I think even there had been weddings there before, but an international wedding had never taken place at the Palácio Marquês da Fronteira, which is this beautiful blue and white palace. Everybody knows it because of Instagram now. And at the time, we did this incredible wedding, outdoor, long tables by the pond. It was just so magical. And I think whenever there's a first time in a venue and there's incredible collaborators and all these different ideas, it just brings such a magical experience to the whole event. So yeah, I do remember that. And that was oh my God, I think that was 10 years ago. I just realized. So time's really gone by. So
yeah, that was an amazing one.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorites.
Exactly.
Also. So in, over the course of the last almost 20 years, have you noticed a change in the way that couples plan their weddings?
Well, I think the couples have changed because they're a different generation and customs sometimes change, financial aspects change, everything, their work roles have changed and different generations respond to different things, and technology has been a huge, what's the word I want to use? Sometimes I'm thinking lots of different languages. It has moved a lot of the way people interact with what they would like and how they can get it. So I think sometimes I get reached out on Instagram, whereas before it was always traditionally via email. Sometimes even people WhatsApp me, that would never do that. There was always a lot of protocol. Some people just want to meet me and have a chat. So I think we have to be a bit more flexible with how we approach our new generation. And I'm not even talking about TikTok, because that's a whole, I can just, I'm happy that I'm on Instagram barely these days because we're so busy. But so I think the approach has slightly changed, but the essence of what people want perhaps is always still the same. They want an amazing, beautiful experience, perhaps more. People always want more than than they initially believe they want. So yeah.
And are there any specific like little details that you think really elevate a guest's experience?
Well, the details are massively important for us anyway, and for our couples. But the details are very personal. So for some people, a detail can mean an exquisite ingredient on a wedding cake or a menu, or it can mean an incredible band with their favorite song, or it can mean the color of the flowers or something specific. It has to have meaning for them, or it could just be layers of different personalization. I think also the key to elevating really any experience is to include a level of personalization, and that has to be addressed, and that has to be developed. And it's not always something that comes from the get-go. You have to take some time to get to know the couple, or just in some cases just the bride, some cases the mother of the bride, and just feel where you can go to make sure that this experience is elevated. And I also feel like guest comfort is something that often gets overlooked, and we've always been big on that. So guest comfort is important.
Yeah, that's definitely for me at least, I would guess that's definitely part of like the luxe experience. You have to think about everything, right? And
Yeah, you do.
does. So I guess this kind of leads into the next question, which is, how do you keep each wedding and each event so unique when you're planning so many things? And I know you kind of just explained it, but I think there's probably more to it than what you just said.
Well, it's funny that I was having a chat with a vendor this morning, and this particular vendor's known me from the beginning of when we worked together, and he's said that our work has always been very different because of the style and the colors and what our focus is on and the layout. We do take a lot of risks. And I do think it has to do with personality and taste. And that's why our couples come to us, because they want something that is more interesting. I wouldn't say quirky, because that's a very dangerous word. It could be interpreted as something strange, but they do come to us because they want something that really doesn't feel cookie cutter. So, and that's great for us. So I think with that, we always try to do something unique. I use art a lot as a base for everything that we do, whether it's the artists that do all the invitations, or whether, for example, one of the weddings that we did, as you know, the wedding cake came from some tiles that I had seen, and then we talked about how we could incorporate that into the cake and all the colors and everything. So it has to come from a place of art and interest, rather than, oh, I saw this really nice dusty blue wedding and I really want that. That's not gonna, cut the cheese, so to speak. Cut the cake in this case.
Cut the cake, better phrase.
You know what I
mean. Cut the cheese means something else in American English.
Oh, really? Oh, you have to tell me what it is.
I'll tell you after.
Things like, you're always learning, right? And this is something in the business, like I've been doing this for donkey's years and I'm still learning. So
that's good, right? Because if you weren't still learning, then you'd be like stopped. So
I guess, yeah.
In terms of learning or education, Is there any advice that you would give couples who are planning a destination wedding, especially like if things get a little bit difficult for them in the planning process?
I think it's always going to get tricky. There's there's never going to be a moment where it's always smooth sailing, because even if it is seamless, and we've had even the reviews we get, seamless wedding experience, and I'm thinking, great, that was great. But I remember a couple of bumps, and the bumps maybe are to do with communication being slower than they expected, because, for example, with some of our vendors, maybe they're in high season, or they're busy, or they're away. We have a lot of religious holidays in Portugal. I think it's important for people to also understand that when you're doing something abroad, all the culture involved around everything is really a part of the whole package. We would love to have New York and London time responses, which is what I was very much used to. But unfortunately, especially over the years, I've seen there's a huge demand of destination weddings, and people just don't respond like they used to, say, 10 years ago. So we have to sort of fill in the gaps and accompany our clients in a better way. So we have to ensure that everything is being dealt with. It just takes a little bit more time. So I think communication with our couples has always been really important. But on their side, I think it's important to understand the context of where they're coming. They're not doing a wedding in a hustle and bustle city like New York or London or LA or something. They're doing it in a different country, be it in this case Portugal, where things can be a little slower. It doesn't mean that they're not efficient. It just means that it takes a bit more time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but it takes more time could also mean because we're pay attention to all the details, which obviously
is making sure that
right?
making sure that no mistakes are being made, making sure that everyone understands what they're doing, making sure that there are no loose ends and things like that. There's lots of moving parts in a wedding, so it's important to make sure that everything gets glued together properly. So
absolutely. Have you ever had a moment where you think like, this is why I love what I do?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, have you ever had a moment to think, this is really not for me?
Oh, that could be another question.
Yeah. Yes, I think I have many times, and often it's more of an energy build up on the day, and you think, oh, fantastic, it really all came together, because it's really essentially a theatrical production with no rehearsal and it's a one-time show, right? So if you can pull that off time and time again, you do feel there's a sense of achievement and accomplishment. So I definitely feel that, and I definitely feel that the couples that are with us during the whole process, they really love the end result. So that's fantastic. And I think having recognition from the couples is also really, really important. But I do remember lots of different moments, but none in particular, because there've been so many. So
yeah, I guess that's a tough question, because probably you have that moment for every event. It's just it presents itself in a different way probably each time.
It does. And every aspect of the event has a moment where there's a sort of a bubble of energy that just comes together and everything's perfect. And then you think, wow, here it is. And it could be the first dance, it could be, I don't know, cutting the cake, could be the exiting the ceremony area, the kiss. There's so many different moments, but you feel it and you see it and you're like, great, everything's on track and everyone's happy and like, okay, get going with the party.
Yeah. About the cake.
Yes.
What, in your opinion, what makes a cake unforgettable?
Well, I think a few things. So obviously the taste has to be exceptional, and with your cakes it really, really is. The design and the moment of the cake has to be really well. When the cake is going to be cut, that's a moment that has to be really well orchestrated and timed, because often sometimes displayed, and then it's a bit of a rush and people want to go to the dance floor, and then sometimes it's not, if there's choreography involved or not, all of these elements around the cake. It depends on how much stage appearance the cake has, what's the cake moment. And then the design is really important. I remember we did one particular design, which was these angel wings on the cake. And that was very relevant, and it was intentional because of the story behind that. It was a sad story, but it was very poignant, and that brought everybody together. So there's moments that can bring people together, and you just have to interweave it with the design. But yeah, that's it. And a nice beautiful cake shot.
Yeah,
so that
exactly. That's why I love working with you, because you think of all these things that are so important to me. And, I think it's so essential to making it memorable and that perfect kind of, yeah.
Thank you.
I think I know the answer to this next one, or a little bit of this answer, but what inspires you outside of weddings? And if you weren't doing what you were doing, what else would you possibly be doing?
Well, as you can see behind me, I've got stacks of old plates, vintage plates, I should say, not old. And I'm sitting on this incredible, it's actually an American vintage sofa. I absolutely love it. And I don't think it's ever leaving here, because to get in here was a nightmare. They were like, we can't get it out. I'm like, okay. I think I would definitely be doing more design-based work. So leaning towards interior design. I really like having to develop an event and a wedding or a party, and involving, even working with all the vendors. It's really, really fun. I really like that. But I love the longevity of a design, and we don't really have that. In fact, the only thing we have with longevity of design that I just thought of was sometimes they have that tradition of freezing the cake, and then a year later they bring it out, and that's really the only. You don't freeze the bouquet, and you have images, which is why also having an extremely good photographer is so essential, because that's the only way you can immortalize the day, basically. But in terms of designing something with longevity, interiors or residential is the only way to go. So I'm hoping to infiltrate that area with all of our soft furnishings, with our linens, that we've been doing for many years and we're known for, and cushions and linens and napkins and blah blah blah. So that's something I would really like to. I'd love for someone to say, hey, would you like to redo our little palace? I'll be like, sure. No problem. Or
You'd be really good at it.
It doesn't have to be a palace, everyone. It can just be, a room.
A shack.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question before I want to do a couple of quick rapid fire questions. And it's more like, if you had to give a 30-second or less kind of elevator pitch about you and the Wedding Co. and why you're different from everybody else, can you sum it up into like a sentence or two max?
I try. Why are you different? Well, I am different from everyone else. So I think it's a question of personality and taste. Are you looking for something that is international, has a bit of the English flair, Italian Renaissance flair, somebody that really understands the language of what's going on in terms of European design and outlook of things, whilst being able to comfortably navigate. In this case, most of our couples are American, and their desires and their fears, and being able to really make sure that all of their envisioning of their wedding day actually comes to fruition. It is not sort of left in the back, and really do something that has personality and something interesting and characterful and elegant. It's very important for me to do things that are elegant, because I like that. So I don't really stray from what I don't like. I have to do things that I like. I can't, go halves on that. So
that's the artist in you for sure, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that pitched well or not. I'm not very good at these things. So, so I need to brush that up a bit.
I think it was perfect. Okay, some quick questions.
Yeah.
Favorite first dance song?
Oh, gosh. It's oh gosh, first favorite first. Well, I know it sounds really bad, but I have to say, I know people are like, no, you can't say it. Ed Sheeran. There was a song by Ed Sheeran years ago that everybody. I thought it was so sweet. I can't remember that song, but you know that one.
Okay.
Darling,
What's your-
it was a really slow one.
Oh yeah, that
Loving
is a good
You or
song.
something. I thought it was very sweet.
I forget what that's called too, but yeah, that's a great one.
It's a sweet one. Or even Etta James at Last, which is
Yeah.
sometimes nice, but sometimes it's like, oh, at last, and you're like a million years old or something. Not so funny.
If you could plan a celebrity wedding, who would it be?
Okay, well, I've sort of felt like I've sort of done that, but yes, who I'd really like to plan. Oh my god, I actually saw him the other day, and I thought this guy's really funny. Must be difficult, but there's so many. I like even someone like Jeff Goldblum. He looks like a real laugh, and I don't know, some really Jake Gyllenhaal, or even there's these actors that I really like, Benedict Cumberbatch. You know, all these sort of types. I think they would probably really be very complicated, yes, but interesting.
Best part of a wedding day.
So, but best what's right?
Best part of a wedding day.
Oh, I feel that when the ceremony is over, that's definitely a sense of relief on the couple's shoulders, and then they can just sort of relax a little bit.
Most unique wedding theme you've ever done.
Oh, okay. I think you know that one. There was a few. One was there were so many themes. There wasn't just one. It was like an overlapping. It was like a tsunami of different things. Mermaids, camels, smoking cigars. Really like esoteric, really out there, and really fun, and just everything. Colors everywhere. A riot. There were art panels. I mean, everything was going on there. Yeah.
That wasn't the one with the tigers and the peacocks, right?
No, that was no, that was sick.
The wedding tradition you love the most.
Oh, something blue. That's quite simple. I've always liked that because I think blue is a beautiful color, and I think it's just really sweet.
Most extravagant wedding feature you've ever planned.
I would say probably the custom art panels, which were sort of 30-meter long, which is like 60 feet long, and custom stuff, things like that. Just very bizarre requests. A massive tiger. Somebody wanted a real tiger. I said, no, can't have a real tiger. And no one's come to work. It's not Bring Your Tiger to Work Day. So yeah, there's really strange things, but you know, everyone's different strokes for different folks. So.
Yeah. Okay, last question. What is one thing that every couple should splurge on?
I was just say the cake, right? But one thing that every couple should splurge on, definitely, I would say the venue is the most important thing that you need to splurge on. Because without an amazing venue, you haven't got anything. So, you could have everything you want, but if you've got like a venue with bad lighting or looks like a, brutalist World War II shelter, no. Not gonna do it, I think. So.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your journey and your inspiration and your vision. You put so much heart into everything you do, and you are, a big inspiration for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. The same back to you. And I think I may have to listen to this to give me, on those days where I think, oh my God, what am I doing? I will definitely listen to you. And I'll listen to you anyway.
You can just call me. In fact, you just come over and have coffee and cake in the morning. You know that's when I eat cake.
I literally will have to do that. Thank you so much.